All right, welcome to first assignment video of pre-algebra. I noticed that during my introduction video that I posted to introduce, I didn't introduce myself. So my name is David Ely, for those that have not had me before. And this is my email address. When I said that, if you have questions or need to contact me, if you're under your school email and you start typing this in, the rest should pop up for you. But DELY@mogoodwillexcel.org. I like to greet all my classes when I'm at the Excel Center. In this way, I'm super proud of what you guys are doing. I totally believe in this program, and that's why I decided to teach at this program. And so I'm excited. I know things are going to be completely different this term, but I really try to break down math as simple as possible. Go through of why we do things that we do. Especially you get into pre-algebra where we start putting letters into it. I don't want to freak you out, but we start putting letters in there, and I really try to explain why we do that there is a purpose for that. It's not just to torture people with math. But hopefully, one of the challenges I already can tell from doing some of my earlier videos with algebra, geometry, is hearing from you. As far as I like to have questions as I go along in class, and I can't have that necessarily in this medium, but make sure you are taking advantage of emailing me or reaching out on the Google Classroom. Just know if you post on the stream of Google Classroom that everybody can see it. So if you would rather send a message of just a specific question, or you have a concern through the email or through the people on the Google Classroom, you can email me directly, okay? But anyway, the first thing we're going to look at from moving on, and I'm not going to be doing any review from Math Lab just because of this medium. Really, we need to kind of go through and make sure we're moving forward. But the first thing I'm going to look at is integers. If you look that up, there's lots of videos and different things that you can watch on integers. Math Annex is a good, if you go to YouTube and hit in Math Annex on integers, positive and negative numbers, there's videos on that. Khan Academy. It's another one, that's KHAN Academy. Those are good videos that will go along with this if you want extra things to watch. I am excited about this medium in one way is you can pause it, rewind it, go back and look at things maybe that you felt like, oh, that went really quick. That will be a bonus for this, so make sure you're doing that. But the first thing, like I said, we're going to look at integers. What integers are numbers. We learn about numbers in Math Lab. We learn how to add them, subtract them, divide them, multiply them, all those things, but we don't deal with any negative numbers. Integers is both positive and negative numbers, and so the first thing that we look at in pre-algebra is positive and negative numbers, or integers. And so I put a number line up here. We look at a number line, and that's really the first thing that we introduce positive and negative numbers is with a number line. Basically, we look at it as going positive from 0 here, negative from 0 this way, and we kind of get a grasp of what we're doing with positive and negative numbers. Number lines do not have to go horizontal like this. They don't have to go left to right. They can go up and down. One example of that is a thermometer. If you've been using a thermometer here lately to check your temperature, and it's not a funny thing, but if you're using that, you see that it goes up and down. It does not have to go left to right. Another thing it doesn't have to do is include 0. You could have a number line start up at like 8 or something, and start at 8 and go 9, 10, and go that way. But it is going to go positive that way and negative this way. But yeah, it does not have to start at 0. It doesn't have to have 0 on it. 0 doesn't have to be in the middle. It doesn't have to be even on both sides, meaning 10 over here and 10 over here. You can start it and finish it anywhere. What you can't do is you can't be going by ones and say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all of a sudden switch to going by tens, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go 50, 60, 70. You can't switch your units. Now, if you start out by going by tens, that's okay. So if I go 10, 20, 30, and keep each increment the same for tens, then you can do that. But you can't then all of a sudden switch and go back to ones, like 31, 32, and switch to going by tens and then switch to going by ones. Once you determine by what values you're going by, you have to stay that same value, okay? So that's another thing about number lines. But basically, once we set those parameters, your most common that we're going to see is going by ones, having a 0 somewhere in there, and then going positive and negative, okay? Another thing you'll see on these, you'll see these arrows. That just means that number lines go on forever, okay? And that's a theory. We can't prove that as far as you can't go to the end of numbers and say that there's the end, or oh, there's the end of the negative. We use a symbol called infinity, meaning we know it goes on to infinity. And it's proven because we know numbers go in sequential order. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, and continue on. But basically, that's, you know, it's in theory in the way of you can't go to the end and prove it. It's the same thing with in between the numbers, okay? And this gets a little bit more, what you would say, confusing, because I think most everybody grasps that numbers keep going on forever as far as in order. You know, it's not just going to skip 1,560,000 or something. It's not going to just skip that number. But as far as in between, it's a little bit harder to grasp, because if, let's say we're going in between 3 and 4, if I go to 3.1, then I'm somewhere right in here, right? Just after 3, but going towards 4. Well, you say, okay, if I go to 3.1, then eventually if I keep getting bigger and bigger, I'm going to reach 4. But you can actually put an infinite amount of numbers in between. And how you would do that is, okay, here's 3.1. Well, let's say I went 3.11 and went just a little bit further. Not as far as 0.1, but just a little bit further. I'm closer to 4, but I haven't reached it yet. Well, let's say I put another 1, and I just keep climbing. But how many 1s can I put? I can go on forever putting 1s and never reach 4. I'm getting closer to 4 each time, but I'm never reaching 4 because I'm only getting, you know, that much smaller addition as I go along. I can put as many 1s as I want and keep going and get closer to 4, but never reach 4. So that gets a little bit more tricky, and we won't be doing that. I just wanted to lay that out to show that a number line has some things to it in the definition of it, okay, when I set it up. What we're going to be using it for is to kind of get a grasp at the beginning between positive and negative numbers that we can basically say, okay, you know, what does it mean when I'm adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers? You know, what does it mean when I'm got a 5, a positive 5, and a negative 2? Does it matter if I'm adding or subtracting those two numbers? What changes? Because we're so used to problems being written in the way that we've done Math Lab that it gets tricky when we start changing that and doing them as integers. What I mean by that is all our life we've learned problems like this, 8 minus 3. Okay, and we did that in Math Lab. We did it as 8 minus 3. We got 5, and so on. I'm still waiting. I know I'm going to make a math mistake, and I'm going to be like, I am not reshooting that whole video. So it's going to happen. When it happens, we'll just erase it and act like it never happened. Don't screenshot it and say, hey, look, Mr. Ely made a mistake. But basically, when I do 8 minus 3, we know we get that as 5. What we have to look at is, well, I did it as 8 minus 3, but what does that really break down as on a number line? That means I'm sitting up here at 8, okay? I started at 8. Now, what was unknown that we didn't even see that we basically just decided is this was a positive 8. How we know that was a positive 8? Because there was not a negative there. The absence of a negative there means that there was a positive there. There was a plus. But we don't write that plus there because it's at the beginning and it's not needed. Once we know that that's a positive 8, we don't need the plus sign. What changes that is what if we had, you know, something like negative 2 plus 9. If I don't have that plus there, then we don't know what to do with those numbers. We think, well, are we just saying negative 29, or is it negative 2 times 9? We need a plus there at that point to show that that's a positive 9. Well, it's here, but we just don't have to write it. So we are saying we're starting at positive 8, and we are going 3 from 8, but we're going to go in the negative direction because we're subtracting. So we're going down 1, 2, 3, which puts us at 5. Now, we don't have to use a number line to do this problem in our head, 8 minus 3. It does start to get a little trickier when we are maybe doing, let's say, negative 3 plus 4. And you say, okay, wait a minute, I'm not used to that. I'm not used to seeing that. What do I do, or how would I do that? Well, first off, we show it on a number line. Meaning, okay, here we're sitting at negative 3 to start out with. okay? And so we started at -3, and we are going 4 in the positive direction. So we would start here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that would put us at +1. Okay, so if we added 4 to -3, we're at +1. I like to use money a lot when I do negative numbers because it's something we deal with every day. If I had -$3 and I owed someone 3 but I paid them 4, that means I went 1 beyond. I don't owe them anymore. I'm in the positive. It'd be a bank account. If I owed, let's say I was -3 in the hole and I was like, they didn't charge me yet, they didn't catch it. I'm like, I'm going to deposit $4 so they at least have $1 in there, okay? That's what that would be. I put in $4, so I actually have now a positive $1 in the bank account. Okay, so that's what we use the number line. I'm just kind of introducing this because tomorrow we'll I have a video that basically then we start actually doing the problems, and there's a whole process for that. But I want to show this number line so that we never lose sight of what these numbers mean. That we have now negative numbers in our problems, and we also have positive numbers. Okay, so here's a couple problems that I'm going to put up there. Okay, and here is what we have, and we can put them on the number line and just kind of see how we could use this number line. Okay, so 6 plus 4. Okay, -3 plus 2. 5 minus 2. And -1 minus 5. Okay? So here's some problems that we're going to do that introduce some of the new ones. Now this first one was one we did in Math Lab, but I want to show you on a number line how we would put it on a number line. So we start at +6. Remember, this is positive because there's no negative there. Okay? If it was negative, it would have a negative there. But because it doesn't, it's a +6. So we're up here at +6, okay? And we are going to go 4 in the positive direction. This is a +4 that we're adding to it. We're adding the +4. So if we're at 6 and we're going in the positive direction, we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that put us at +10. So 6 plus 4 is 10. And we know that. We don't need to use the number line, but I want to start with one like that to see, okay, it just reinforces what we already know. 6 plus 4 is 10. But on the number line, that's why it is. You start at a +6 and you go +4. Let's look at the next one though. This one's probably a little bit new, where we're -3 and we're adding 2. Okay, so let's start at -3, which is down here, -3. Okay, here's 0, -1, -2, -3. We're starting at -3. And we are going to go 2 in the positive direction. Okay, it's +2, it's a +2. So we're going to go 2 in the positive direction. 1, 2 puts us at -1. Okay, so -3 plus 2 equals -1. So -3 plus 2 is -1. Okay, so if you owe $3 and you in the bank and you put 2, you're still -1 in the hole. You still owe the bank $1. Okay, you've only paid 2 of those dollars that you owed 3. Okay, so that's what that means. Now I'm gonna have to do some tricky erasing here. I kind of painted myself in a corner. All right, I got out. So let's look at the next one. 5 minus 2. Now this is another Math Lab one that you say, well, I know what 5 minus 2 is 3. Well, let's check it. You start up here at +5. That's a +5. And now this is not plus. We're not going to go in the positive direction. It's minus. We're going to go in the negative direction. And we're going to go 2 negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, which puts us at 3, which we already know, but that proves it on the number line. 5 minus 2, going in the 2 in the negative direction, puts us at 3. Okay? So 5 minus 2 is 3. Well, let's look at this one. -1 minus 5. Same thing. We're subtracting a number. Okay, -1 minus 5. But now we're starting at the -1, which is here, -1. And we're going to go 5 in the negative. Just like when we subtracted 2 and went in the negative, we're going to go 5 in the negative. But we're starting here at -1. And we're going to go 5 in the negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which puts us at -6. So So we were at -1, and we went 5 in the negative direction, and that put us at -6. So if you owed the bank $1 and then you went 5 more in the hole, you would be a total of 6 in the hole. Okay, so that's using the number line. I'm going to put some practice ones up there to do that real quick with. These are the ones that you'll do and then take a picture of that you did them and try to use the number line. I'll keep them on the number line. I won't go beyond this number line here, but I'm going to have you do these and take a picture of your notes and these problems for your first daily assignment. Remember, those are for points that go on your grade. And just like I said in the introduction video, you need to do them for the points, but you also need to do them for your attendance. So you'll have a time frame. I actually extended this first one for an extra day so that we can get used to it. Plus, I'm going to be posting them on the weekend, this weekend, so you can kind of get started. This first one, I'm going to make sure you have plenty of time to get used to what you're doing. But after that, they're going to be open for a day, and you have to do them in that day to be counted present. Now, you can do them later for the points for your grade, but you will still be marked absent if you don't do them in that time frame. We need you to do them in the time frame for the attendance. So basically, let's put these up there. 2 plus 7. Okay, let's do -3 plus 8. Let's do 6 minus 4. And let's do -3 minus 4. And let me do one more, a little tricky here. Let's do 8 minus 9. Okay, try that one. Okay, so these you're going to do on your paper. You can use, if you've copied this number line, you can use that number line, and then I'll check your answers from there. All right, thank you.